1,000 are attending the Chinese university. Around 9,000 are studying at the Hong Kong Polytechnic, and 2,100 at the newer City Polytechnic. That's a total of more than 23,000 students in undergraduate and graduate programs. At the three colleges registered with the government, 2,400 students are at Hong Kong Baptist. Lingnam has 800, and Shuyan 3,500. That's a total of 6,700 full-time students.
Well,
One educator at Baptist College thinks that less than 30,000 students at credible post-secondary institutions in Hong Kong just isn't enough. Jerry Barrett explains.
I think that as you move in terms of an industrial community to higher technologies and more sophisticated manufacturing, you need a more educated and sophisticated workforce. I think in the next few years, I think the government, with its emphasis on bringing the eligible age group number of students who are enrolled in degree places up some threefold over what they were just 3 or 4 years ago, will go a long way towards solving the problem.
An increase of 30,000 post-secondary students is what Jerry Barrett envisions for Hong Kong in the next 10 years. Barrett says there are several ways of doing that.
Now, the universities have been asked to examine how much they can expand their enrollments. Baptist is beginning to offer degree work in various fields and will continue that in the next decade. And undoubtedly other colleges will come into this formula as well, and I would assume that they would.
Such as Lingnam.
Such as Lingnam.
Another way is the establishment of a third university in the 1990s. It'll stress business, science, and technology, but some critics are concerned about the proposed location.
I'm worried about establishing an institution with very close links to technology, business, and industry way out in the new territories. Most industry and most business and most technological work is in Hong Kong, in the urban area. And if that industry, if that university is to be credible, it will need to establish very close links with, let us say, industry and business. It doesn't establish those close links if it is out in a remote area, like, say, Fanling, to which businessmen will be reluctant to travel.
At independent Shuyan College, Zhong Qiyong isn't worried about the site of the new university. She's more concerned about students getting access to higher education.
Well, yes, of course it's good to have a third university. It will be good for Hong Kong, and it will benefit the young people of Hong Kong. Right now, out of every 1,000 young persons, only about 2.9% are admitted to university. That's like 2 out of every 1,000. With another university, and therefore more places available, for every 1,000 persons, maybe 5 or 8 students can now get a place in tertiary education. But it's still not very much.
But even with the establishment of a third university, critics say that still won't be enough to satisfy all those who are eligible for post-secondary education in Hong Kong. In Part 2 of Focus, we'll find out how the colleges are trying to meet the needs of higher education. Hong Kong Baptist College started in 1956. For 25 years, it lived on tuition fees and private donations. But things began to change drastically in 1981 when the Council for National Academic Awards, or the CNAA from Britain, came to the college. One Baptist college official knows what the CNAA stands for.
Its standard are those of a typical British university degree. And therefore it is required in the UK by law to assess courses and make sure they're up to those standards.
At Lingnam College, the CNAA is well known to one person. When he was at Huddersfield Polytechnic in Britain during the 1960s, Ken Collins had to deal with that council.
The CNAA doesn't come to an institution to praise them, to tell them how splendid everything is. The CNAA comes to an institution to appraise them, to assess it, to find out how good it is. And not only its strengths, but its weaknesses, particularly its weaknesses. And they'll do a very full report on both. So it is no picnic.
As the preeminent validating body, the CNAA can make or break an institution's aspirations. For Hong Kong Baptist College, the moment of truth came 5 years ago.
When the CNAA came in 1981, they looked very much at the credentials of both groups. They wanted to know what the academic qualifications of staff was. They wanted to know what kinds of educational experience in schools that the students had had.
Like these young Baptist college athletes, Hong Kong Baptist College was able to avoid any misses that would set them back. After 2 visits, the Council for National Academic Awards successfully assessed it in 1981.
I think the thing that really carried the day was the personal contact, because in the CNAA panel, they sent along people in each of the academic disciplines, usually at least 2 people in each academic discipline. Those two visiting panel members would sit down with the academics from a department. Then they would sit down with the students from a department.
Getting successfully assessed by the CNAA meant that Baptist College was eligible for full funding from the government. And that came in 1983, when the University and Polytechnic Grants Committee decided to fund the college. This year's budget is $100 million. It's now considered one of the big 5 post-secondary institutions in Hong Kong, along with the 2 universities and the 2 polytechnics. Another place trying to get into that elite higher educational circle is Lingnam College. Lingnam started out as Lingnam University in Guangzhou almost 100 years